Hello, and welcome to the 28th episode of Last Attempt, a World of Warcraft Guildcast. I'm your host, Squirrelthug, and joining me again today is our co-host, Templrivanho.
Hello.
Quick heads up before we dive in. By the time this episode drops Tuesday morning, the weekly reset will have already flipped us into Midnight Season 2. So a lot of what we're talking about today is that weird gap week that we've all been living in. Today, we've got the community picking apart what Classic Plus is shaping up to be, a Tettles interview with the encounter designers on splits and resilient keys, a genuinely messy week for Sparks and Week 0 gearing, bonus rolls getting reshuffled, and then Season 2 tier list landing right on top of 2 rounds of hotfixes, a hidden pet the Secret Finders cracked, 4 new housing endeavors, and we'll close out the news with Blizzard being named the top performing studio at Xbox. Before we get into all that, let's go around the table and talk about what we've been up to. Templar Ivanhoe, I've been staying busy and wild this last week.
Unfortunately, the only thing I've been really able to do is keep up with auctions. I've only had like 1, maybe 2 hours each day. The good
Oh,
news, or the unfortunate news, is I've been having to help take care of my parents who are elderly. But the good news is they're doing all right. It's just been um, a lot of going back and forth, living 30 minutes out from them. And yeah, it's just been a bit crazy.
yeah, that's a heck of a round trip.
Yeah, but it's the unfortunate thing is I have 2 bad brothers and 1 good brother, and the other good brother is in Florida. So
Oh,
um,
he's real far.
yeah, but yeah, that's been keeping me busy. But I will say that outside of well, since that's where I've been, reading the news has just been like one thing after another. It's honestly kind of insane trying to keep up with it this week.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many things happening in so many categories, and I don't know if it's just a result of more sources to get your news from, or but it feels like a fire hose.
Yeah, I mean, they even Team Liquid put out a little um, preview video for their Race to World First. Um, and I know in the video he mentioned, he's even going to bring the European players, but I was unaware if there are any European members of Team Liquid.
I did not know. Well, like, not that they reside there. Oh, wait, no. That was a thing, right? There was a Race to World First where there was this odd thing where half the team was located somewhere else, wasn't it?
I have a vague memory of that. I can't remember who made the video. It was like the history of world first, but it was going through like the chaos from, for example, what happened to Method and stuff like that. And that sort of rings a bell, but I'd have to rewatch it. But
Yeah, I remember that. That was a really good video. That was right before the Race to World First for when Midnight launched, right?
yep.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe they do have like a sort of split team. It'd be very odd. I don't know that there's anything restricting you from playing like that. Like if you're located in Germany and right, because like let's say you're in the military and you get relocated, like you would be locally over there, but you still want to play on your North American account.
Yeah, my guess is maybe either they added new members or maybe they always had like European members. I'm just not sure, but it was just interesting that he specifically called that out in the video. Um, and like you said, my guess is that there's nothing stopping a European from playing on the NA servers or taking a trip down to the Alienware studio. I'm not sure where that is exactly, and either just leveling up a character in North American realms or somehow transferring it. My guess is you can't transfer EU to NA. I'm not sure, but yeah, it should be. I can't wait for it come Tuesday, and this time I'm gonna really try to watch it from the beginning.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this one, but I'll be busy with work all week. So hopefully it's still going on Friday, and that's basically when my weekend starts, so I can jump in there. But Team Liquid, they have a lot of different teams. I tried to follow their Twitter recently for the podcast account, and I I went to their website, and they just have a team for every major video game that's like every major competitive video game out there.
Yeah, like you said, it's like we don't, because I forget what the original Team Liquid was. Was it? Oh
Halo?
gosh, no,
Was it that
no.
far back?
I'm or what I was referring to specifically was the WoW guild and organization, because I know I forget what it was originally, and then they joined Team Liquid.
Oh, the name of the guild. So Liquid has always been as like it originated in WoW. I thought it might have originated in another game.
I think it did originate in another game, but I just can't. Let's see. What was?
They have a rich history and a long
Yeah,
list of teams. So maybe that European team was like, it's not the other half of the team. It's like just the European team. They're going to try to get race first and second on Race to World first in both regions or something. I don't know. That'd be funny.
that would be crazy. It was Limit. That's what I was thinking of. It was
Oh, that
Limit.
was the guild.
Yeah, and then they joined Team Liquid. Um, uh, yeah, it was acquired by Team Liquid in January of 2022. Um,
Being
so
acquired as a guild is crazy.
yeah, so yeah, like you were saying, it is a vast organization, and they even have the team jerseys and everything.
Yeah, I like that about Liquid. They seem very. It's like it feels like an esport. It's like I don't care if this was an esport or not. I'm making it one.
Yeah, and they're, I think, one of the, we've talked about esports before, but having someone like Team Liquid, um, they're probably the only one I can really think of. I mean, there probably is more that has all these games and really is like a major organization in that same fashion.
Yeah, they're pretty impressive. I like that team. Always rooting for them. So in the last week, I have also not played very much, but I did get a chance to jump in for the Coiled Isle. And I got up to the Coiled Isle. I met Taka, the new Tortolan that we're going to be hanging out with, and I did a couple quests on the island, and mostly just took some screenshots. One of them is the Gate of the East Fang, I think, is the region. It just looks amazing. It's just like flying over the island. One, it's massive. I did not expect it to be that big. I saw in comparison to like Eversong Woods and Zolomon. And in my head, I was like, okay, well, that's just stylization, right? Like you just want it to be emphasized on the map, and it's a separate map here. Like it's definitely not a landmass that's that big, but it is. It is so huge. I really love how long it takes to fly over the mountain. If you're planning to go to the island, just go around. It'd be way faster to go around the mountain than it is to go over the mountain. It's literally that tall.
Wow, that's giving me major like Mount Hyjal vibes.
It is a contender, I'm pretty sure, because it takes so long. Like even with Dragonflight, right? Like dynamic flying, um, I was boosting all the way up, and it took me quite a while. I was just wondering, like I got halfway up, and I was like, okay, well, this is taking too long now. This is definitely not what I expected when I looked up from down there. But the island is amazing. I mean, everything you thought that it was going to be, it is, right? And we have this just the environment is so well done. They really outdid themselves, and I think what really helps is the fact that it's all one theme. Poison lakes everywhere, snake monsters everywhere, these like Sethralis, sort of snake people running around, and it just it looks incredible. And the quests are pretty fun. They're all right. The story so far has been really good. I enjoy a lot of the really all the Warcraft writing for all the quests. I usually I read all of them, and this one is very engaging. If you like the story, if you like the writing, you're gonna love this one. They're really outdoing themselves on this, and just also I have not been to the underground portion of the island, which is like the Temple of Atal Hakar, I think, or Atal something like that, right?
Yeah.
But it's got some challenges, and we'll go over those things as well. There's some very specific things about some instant secrets down there that you can find. But just everything I've seen so far, it's incredible, and just a lot of flavor, great writing, really fun, really just fun to engage and move around. It doesn't feel cluttered. It doesn't feel bad to navigate the island, and I like going on foot a lot in places so that I don't just fly over everything, especially when it's new. And yeah, this doesn't there's sometimes there's so much density in certain things, certain zones that they put out that you almost feel forced to fly over because it's just going to be like, I want to get to this objective and do this thing, and then I'm going to have to fight through 20 minutes of mobs I'm going to fly over and get there in 10 seconds, right? But this is designed in a way things are spread out, and if you wanted to navigate on the ground, you'd obviously face some friction, but not nearly as much as some of the more poorly designed areas. Siren Isle comes to mind.
Yeah, and like you said, just the mag or how gigantic it is. We've come a long way from either small patches like you mentioned with Siren Isles, or small experiences. I remember in BFA, one of them was the island expeditions, which were sort of a fun thing to do, but realistically, it sort of hindered more of your, not just your experience, but the way you geared. And again, we keep seeing that Blizzard is just getting better and better at these things. And one thing, whenever we come to talk about Classic Plus, I think we have to remember, and it's really cool that they now have a and B team, i.e., there's an A team that does a lot of the initial expansion stuff, while B team is doing maybe like the stuff either for the future or the current expansion. I can't remember exactly how it was described in terms of which is A, which is B, and how their duties are divided exactly. But it does seem to be that this system of theirs is finally hammered down and is really succeeding to either the 8 week, or in this case the 6 month uh, uh, next part of the expansion cycle.
Yeah, I agree. I think they've been doing really good and keeping up with that content. I know that Ian had mentioned that this is right in the middle. 50% of players like it. Some want it faster, some want it slower. So we're just basically exactly where we want to be in terms of the entire, aggregate of all the players. Um, so I mean, I think sometimes it feels a little fast, but the speed at which we are able to gear has been really good. And keep in mind, this season, when, of course, when this comes out, it'll be Tuesday morning. So as of, going into season week one, season one, um, we have a lot of opportunities to gear up, but just do your normal raid. Like if you raid normal, just do normal. When the vault comes around or you get void cores to spend on the bonus rolls when you down the boss, you're going to be getting heroic items. If you and your guild do AOTC every season, so you're in there and doing heroic, you're going to be getting mythic loot, right? And now you can just run tens with that mythic loot to get your crests, and you'll be geared up. And if you never leave a heroic instance, you're going to be fine, right? And you're going to be maybe a little over geared, but I think a lot of players are going to find themselves in a good position to end their season early, or maybe on time, sort of with this new change. So keep in mind going into season two that your void cores are very valuable because they give you vault loot And vault loot has now been changed to basically whatever content you're running, it's going to give you the next track up for most things.
Which is also interesting because what are the Race to World first teams going to focus on? Um, are they going to focus more on pushing through mythics, or are they going to be more focused on splits, or sort of a combination of the two, just to get that gear in the vault?
Well, probably splits because gear from raids are now worth 1 token instead of 2.
Ah, right. I forgot about that.
So yeah, and I think you only get 1 void core from the vault if you choose that instead of 2. So there's some changes coming in that we should all be aware of, and it will, sort of determine how we're going, what gearing path we take. Just know there's less friction this season, regardless of how it seems to have been shaken out. And I think everyone's going to really enjoy Vault a lot more. I think there's a sort of missing, like something was missing from the vault. People enjoyed the void cores, but they don't really have anything to do with the vault. So you can get some from the vault, but really you could have just bought those from Dimensius, and the vault ones were extra, so that's nice. But we could take those out, and you would still be fine with the new system. And so I think players were complaining about not really caring about the vault or any of the items that show up in there. And I think this new change is going to fix that.
Most certainly.
All right, so I wanted to get into the first news item that we have here. Content Blizzard cut from Vanilla is coming to Classic Plus. And that's speculation. Now, there was a YouTube video that was put out, and let me check. It was from a YouTuber named No Hit Jerome. I believe he's a WoW content creator. And he seemed to be reporting on a bunch of evidence. I don't know that he gathered all this stuff up and posted it. It seemed that he was like taking it from other places, and maybe there was another video that he was mentioning and kind of going over that. And he just had a very animated video, like kind of talking about the whole thing, and it was pretty well done in the visualizations and such. So if you go on YouTube and take a look at that, the video is called Content Blizzard. Actually, let me take a look. I don't want to get that wrong. Yes, it's the name is the exact same as I said before. Content Blizzard cut from Vanilla is coming to Classic Plus. Basically, the idea is that somebody looked up a bunch of old interviews and a bunch of stuff that they, used to post on the forums or their website, old art, concept art, things that were shared at BlizzCon, right? Somebody did like a full journalistic dive, I don't know if you know that meme with Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where he's got like the detective board on the back with the strings connecting things, and he's just looking real crazy.
Right, right.
Whoever put all of this together, definitely giving those vibes. There was Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I was just going to say, you go ahead first.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that they pulled together from different parts of just like information. There's so many places that they pulled this from, but basically the gist of it is these places and these models and these lands that were written about and designed for, they're coming back. And sort of the reason that they're giving is because the developers had talked about it like in depth of like how much they loved all of this content, and it's sort of like their child, right? And they never got to raise them. And so it's like this is their opportunity to like bring this thing to life. And there's a bunch of like hints in a bunch of places that sort of tie the idea of what has already been talked about coming into like finding its way into the development cycle, right? Like turning the engine on for those things, like in a way. And so the whole video just covers a bunch of evidence that I think is actually fairly compelling about just all of these really amazing places. Like I think one thing that they had mentioned, and maybe in an interview somewhere, was that Colterin's, perhaps it was Colterin, but it was a South Sea expansion planned, where it's just going to be very pirate themed, and Blizzard was throwing this idea around in about the time when Pirates of the Caribbean came out and was like really popular. So like a pirate themed expansion would have probably hit really hard.
Yeah, as far as the cancel content, um, there is, 100% evidence that these things did exist. So we'll talk about that first. So, for example, even Outland was supposed to be in the original classic. The reason being that it wasn't in there was simply because during that time, the technology, at least insofar as servers, they couldn't handle the stress. So that's one of the reasons, or really the main reason, that Outland is its own instance that you
And
have to go
Silver
through.
Moon was in there. Like if
Right,
you went on like a private server or other people with GM access on private servers could see that you had the entirety of Outland in this like larger zone, and then far off was Silver Moon, and I think
right.
maybe the Janai Island as well.
I think so. I'm not sure, not entirely sure. And there's just a whole bunch of stuff. Like we have like the models, even in what they look like from the original design prospects. If this does come to fruition, it's going to be definitely very much a different experience. And what I'm interested to see is um, number one, of course, is if this is actually true. As far as his main source, unfortunately, it's only one person that he said is confirmed to be an alpha tester. Um, I would say that relatively could be true. The only reason I'm a bit dubious is just because it's one person and they're an alpha tester, and there's not, uh, say, a second alpha tester to corroborate that. Generally, when rumors in gaming like this start, for example, the that there was going to be a Star Fox and Ocarina of Time remaster, not only was the original person who leaked it a trusted leaker and known source, it was also corroborated by other sources as well that obviously wanted to remain anonymous. That being said, with the history of World of Warcraft, I don't doubt that this is number one, not only possible, but number two, something that Blizzard really wants to do. Um, the only thing I'm a little bit, they probably might not do is, for example, put in the original Outland. What they might do is maybe put a section of it, or even just combine it more to what their original vision is. But that being said, I can definitely see this. It's just, we don't know for sure how trustworthy an alpha tester is. And I don't know, like, if they have like a previous history or something.
Of course, definitely. We definitely want to be skeptical about any of the information that Blizzard doesn't confirm themselves. And in less than a month, we will be finding out what this is all about. I can't imagine that this build, encrypted or not, has made its way to um, those test servers, and of course, being tested now, and they're not going to talk about it, at BlizzCon, or even better, have something for the players to play while we're there. So that'll be really exciting, and I can just hope that they bring that out. But all signs point to we're going to get some information about this at BlizzCon. But they've even been playfully um, vague about it. Right, they've been like really kind of just skirting around it and making references to it, and so saying literally nothing about it and using it as like a sort of big announcement at BlizzCon. That's what it's sort of feeling like they really want a big punch at BlizzCon, because we already know about the Last Titan, so it'll be cool to see some more development on that because we haven't seen anything. But I think this is what their big thing is going to be in the opening ceremony.
I appreciate the term playfully, um,
Playfully vague.
yeah, playfully vague. I think that's a perfect way to describe it.
I mean, because they've been having fun with it, Holly making that slow that Near mentioned in the last video that she was in. I just I like the direction that they're going with this, and I'm really excited because I enjoyed classic, but there's not been much to keep me there. But I really do think that a brand new experience, a really full development effort experience on that 1 through 60 classic like kind of gameplay would be great because like we all understand why World of Warcraft retail is the way that it is, right? Where the they have bills to pay, so they're following the people who are subscribing the most. And if these other parts of the games, these people they fall off because they didn't like that, it didn't really hurt the numbers, and so that's not what they're developing for. And players have different requirements depending on the age, right? Like we've talked about this plenty of times. World of Warcraft has a player base that has been aging with it for the last 20 years, and there's if we keep doing that, the game will never continue past us, right? And so if the changes that we're seeing, they're definitely trying to bring in different age groups into the game, and that makes sense. And so it's retail is almost this like ever evolving portion of the game. And if we have this classic plus that's being speculated on in this way, then we get to lock in that original vision of what they had with that comes with all the friction that creates really immersive and really exciting gameplay and gameplay moments that come from really caring about the game in a way that you almost can't with retail. Retail is a bunch of systems that let us run on a treadmill and keep us busy in the interim, while perhaps once a week or a couple times a week we do something like really big, right? So I think and it sort of plays out like that in a lot of different ways in a lot of different systems. Even if you're running plus 10s or plus 15s or like whatever you're doing, you're running mythics, and every now and then you're going to push your key higher or push your highest level a little bit. You're not going to do that all day every day. You're going to play mythics all day every day, but you're not going to get those little moments all the time. And so those are the kind of gameplay loops that we're kind of being fed right now, and that makes sense. But I think there's a lot of value for that old style of gameplay where there's a lot of friction. You have to earn everything, because in those games it's so slow. I know that I do all of my professions while I level, and I have time for it.
Yeah, it's almost like the difference between, say, a modern RPG like Final Fantasy VII, the Rebirth series and stuff, and maybe a harder old school like even the original Final Fantasy VII. And by that I don't necessarily mean graphics, but the ease of use and the very um, uh, just different mechanics. Like we've mentioned early in the podcast, there is a mini game in Final Fantasy VII, the original, where you have to avoid 100 lightning strikes that are random, all at a time, in order to get it's either one of, or it's like a bunch of different of the highest items. And we discussed how WoW had a version of that. And just as an example, the modern Final Fantasy VII doesn't really have that. It's not designed for this, not just more hardcore like classic, um, but it's designed for ease of use, a different story, uh, 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 changes to it, better combat, or more action oriented, I should say, stuff like that. So, this isn't something necessarily new for the gaming industry. It's just the way things change and evolve.
Yeah, and now we get to have a little throwback, and I just imagine that with all the development going into it, we're going to get a really robust experience. And something to remind our players is the the game code that handles the UI is basically the same across classic version and retail version. I imagine Classic Plus, this new thing that they're going to do, is going to be operating in the same way. So add-ons are probably going to be mostly compatible with this new system. And of course, it's not going to have the 12.0 restrictions in there, but it will also have the added things that we have in retail. So certain things I can imagine coming to or being part of and just baked into from the beginning. The Classic Plus experience or things like pings, right? Being able to ping yourself, something we got in 12.1, being able to ping in items, it shows like cooldowns and your mana. And there are a bunch of different things you can do with these new systems. And those, there's not much of a trouble for them to integrate those right into these, like, classic and such, which is how we've gotten certain updates and quality of life changes in classic versions of World of Warcraft, even though they never belonged there in the first place. That's not really what they're selling. You know, the gameplay remains the same, but there are certain things about that, like especially when it comes to accessibility features, like those things definitely belong in the game, regardless of the fact that they weren't there in 2005.
And the biggest question is, will WeGores work with it?
I imagine it will because it still does works for all the others, and I think that's what people are hoping for, and that's kind of what I want to say right away is I imagine this Classic Plus is going to be, exactly the same as Classic in terms of being able to integrate all of those updates. And, I would also imagine there might be a lot more effort to integrate those with the Classic system, the Classic UI and settings. Because of this Classic Plus, so now you're going to have even more development time on bringing those quality of life changes in, retroactively into these other older game types. So that's really fun, and I'm glad they're doing that. And we still have the extra game mode that we see on our character screen, and they haven't said anything about that. So maybe that comes up in BlizzCon as well. We get to play a little bit of that.
Yeah, and like you said, they're being playfully vague even on that.
Yeah, and speaking of those developers, we've got two of them in an interview with Tettles, and that was Taylor Sanders and Andrew D'Souza, or D'Souza, and they talked about the Venomous Abyss raid and Mythic Plus Season 2. Um, they went over a bunch of things. I watched this, but I was not paying attention to like most of it. I was in the middle of like playing and working on some stuff, but they did go over the raid, and they still see real value in fixed raid size because they know exactly what you've got and they can design around that. And Flex is a place that they're figuring out how much they should include it. And so I think when it comes to like a single boss raid or layers, as we can see in Tidebound Grotto, was it Tidecaller Viressa or something? This is there those are going to remain mythic flex. I think that we can expect these single boss raids to be like that, but when it comes to a larger raid, even a raid like with the L'ura raid, right? March on Coiled Isle, that was two bosses, but I think that's enough. I think that's their cutoff, right? If there's more than one boss, it's not going to get a mythic flex. So and but then again, Dreamrift had a cutting edge achievement, but it didn't have a mythic flex. So maybe that's where they draw the line in terms of, what is a mainline story raid and what's a side raid. Because Sporefall was definitely like a side story. It was a little tangent about their little fight ring, the little mushroom people have.
Yeah, and one interesting aspect I found in the interview was that as far as what they viewed that, excuse me, they view splits as something that they've never really wanted to have in the game, specifically that they always viewed them as problematic. Um, but at the same time, I find that to be it's part of the game and it makes sense. It's almost like having a practice team on a football team as well as a reserve, backup quarterback, etc. Um, but it's interesting that they mention that, and that kind of thing also goes through their head whenever they're designing raids and such.
Yeah, they've got a lot to consider when they're designing all these things, and it's really nice to have these guys sit down here. And I think it was like a half-hour interview and go over a lot of stuff. Tettles had some really good questions for them. He's really asking them a lot of really specific questions about gear and such, and Definitely tried to get some more information out of them a couple times, but um, they are really excited for the 12.1.5 raid that's coming because this isn't like a Sporefall. This is mainline story quest line stuff. So we can expect something um, pretty good there. And I believe that one will not be Mythic Flex. Is kind of what they were alluding to. So that might be the distinction that they draw here. Any of the side story quest lines, the raids that are associated with that, those can be Flex.
Right, and they are still thinking about it. So, um, like we said before, I just imagine like they must have one hell of a checklist like every single time they start planning things. Just like, is this going to be mythic only? Yes. Is it going to be flex? Maybe. Is it going to be a side quest? Is it going to be I don't know, the hardest boss of the patch? Yes, no. It's just incredible.
Just one big flow chart on a whiteboard somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's getting a little complicated, but yeah, I think in this interview it seems that they sort of alluded to, main story or not to be Mythic Flex is what they were kind of dancing around, but they also didn't it seemed that they didn't want to get married to something, right? They didn't want to say like this is the way it's going to be always or this is what we decided. And so they sort of indirectly answered those questions, but um the on reworking old dungeons, they were talking about the way that they route things around and rebuild them for the Mythic Plus season. They really try to keep a lot of the what players have access to in mind. And one of the things that they went over was that Pit of Sauron was a very popular uh, dungeon, and right before the season started, almost all of the conversation online and in the community and even in game, if you hear people like see people talking about it in guild chat, nobody was looking forward to Pit of Sauron. Me personally, I love that dungeon. It comes with Wrath of the Lich King. All of everything that is associated with that dungeon, I love. So just for nostalgia purposes, I was looking forward to it. But they everybody made really good points about how everything was grouped, and because you could always just go back to the dungeon and take a look at it yourself, right? And understanding mechanics in Mythic Plus dungeons, like you would know, like, oh, this is as it stands right now, this is a terrible Mythic Plus dungeon. But they reworked it, and it is like number one on everybody's list for season one.
Yeah, I just thank God that they um as far as what they've said, they've fixed the trash routing for Ruby life pools, and King's Rest I know was a particular nightmare both in terms of the RP as well as I believe that's the one with the three troll bosses, and every week it was a different rotation on who it was going to be, um, and yeah, so a lot of that randomness and or just the absolute pain and torture because I tell you, Ruby Life Pool's doing that as a tank, especially having Avenger Shield, where um, if you use Divine Toll every 5 seconds for 20 seconds, it'll go off automatically. So you're just there targeting a random mob, and the one you're meaning to attack or pull, and then the Avenger Shield just flies off and hits the mob across the room, and you have no choice but to just gather them up and pray to God you don't die.
Yeah, that one sounded pretty rough. I think we went over some of the proposed dungeons that are coming in the new season a while ago on this podcast, and those are definitely. I think Siles was on the episode with us when we were going over that, and yeah, was reminding us of some bugs in that dungeon. So it's pretty rough, but again, Pit of Sauron being such an a home run, I think is proof that they've got it locked in terms of what to give the Mythic Plus crowd. So I imagine this season's going to be a lot of fun too. I think last season was fun.
Oh, definitely. And they even mentioned that accessibility was a large part that they saw the success with Mythic Plus, which I 100% agree. Like, they found the right balance and difficulty as well, insofar as not just the dungeons they give us, but also the eye level and how challenging each level that you upgrade a key to is.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, and so we're going to get on to our next news item. Week 0 gearing, Sparks, Renown, and Hero Gear. Now, by the time you guys listen to this episode, Week 0 is already going to be over, so there are going to be new opportunities for you in terms of you're going to be able to start creating your set pieces. You'll get more Sparks. There's some changes that came in with this for this first week. In Week 0, there's an issue where a quest for your current character, had you not done it, which usually alts wouldn't have done it, it's the Midnight World Tour. You do a few quests and go around and do some things. And if you haven't finished that, and that is still available to you, it gives you a spark for crafting. Now, players are already able to get 2 sparks this week, but this one doesn't count towards that. So you just get it. So you can grab your other sparks from wherever else you get them, or you're able to get them. I believe just some of the weekly quests and such will give you these, and delves and such. There are certain things that have a chance to give you these sparks. This one is just on top of that, so you're able to get 3 sparks, but not everyone is eligible for that, because if you've already completed the quest, there is no way for you to get that 3rd spark. Sort of makes it a little unfair, and there's not really good workaround for that, and they don't seem to be removing that quest. It just seems to be like a sort of oversight. Because of this, Blizzard announced that they're going to allow 4 sparks to be gathered next week. And I don't know if that's 4 sparks in total for the season. So, right? Or, because usually it's like they'll add 1 more spark like each week or every other week or something, right? To like the cap.
Yeah, like you said, I would imagine that whenever it comes Tuesday and we look at the spark count, um, I forget what the exact currency is called, where you look it up and it shows you how many sparks. But my guess it's going to be like 4 out of 4 or 4 out of 5 come next week. But it's definitely good. We're seeing that instead of either ignoring or taking it back from people, we're adding it. And especially for people who use two-handers, that's really the biggest benefit, is for those people. Just because I think it's excuse me, I think it's 2 sparks for a two-hander. It could be 4. Unfortunately, I
Yes.
can't
I think
remember.
actually any weapon. Your weapons are 2 sparks, typically.
Okay, yeah. So then it would
Like,
be
even if you had 2 daggers, like, sorry, that's 4 sparks for you.
right. That's what I thought, because I know they mentioned two-hander. So in this case, it is a single two-hander. So yeah, very good for them, and especially for or not especially for Fury Warriors. Unfortunately, um, they're going to have to wait another this week and next to get the two-handers.
Yeah. Yeah, and but something to keep in mind for this as well. There's some things going around online where people are talking about what amounts to an exploit. Now, definitely avoid it. I mean, if you'd like to take part of it, you're really risking a ban this early in the season. It would just be so unfortunate. So in Dornegal, there's still a quest at the sort of battle table that they had there with there was the Arathi girl who had 1 arm and she put a shield on that arm. I forgot her name. But she's nowhere to be found in this expansion, so I have no idea what her name is. But Faerun, I
Yes.
believe it's Faerun. Okay. Wow, that came back out of nowhere. And so the table that she's at, you can go there and there's a quest to basically do the same thing. Like it's like a similar quest line of kind of catching up, and then they give you a spark. And just the way the game is coded, that the spark is no longer, the last expansion spark, it's the current season spark that you get rewarded in the other quests. And so it seems to be pulling from the same pool there. That seems definitely like an exploit. The person who had posted was Zerwo. He's on Team Echo, and he posted that on his X account, and it was accompanied by a video of him going to that spot in Dornegal, turning it in, and you can see that he's in the quest text and the pop up. It shows that he receives a spark of tides, and it says Midnight Season 2 Spark of Tides.
I'm surprised that one of the Race to World First guilds is being that blasé about it, and letting it
Exactly.
people know.
Come on, man. Dude, you're gonna get banned for the first week, you're out.
Yeah, I forget who it was, if it was Team Liquid or Team Echo, who got their account banned during the race. But yeah, it's a good thing not to have that happen, or not one of the employees from Blizzard getting fired for helping again.
Yeah, right. We don't want any more of that happening. I mean, we've had enough for one season, or well, that was last season, but still, one expansion. We also want to remind you that renowned quest rewards reset and are now item level 279. Silver Moon Court at rank 9 for the helm, Amani Tribe at rank 9 for the neck, Harati at rank 8 for the belt, the Singularity at rank 9 for the trinket. And from what I know, the trinket was really good for a lot of people last season as a sort of starter item. And at 279, this is a veteran piece of item that you are getting from each of these. So last season it was veteran, this season it's veteran. If you've already collected these quests and finished them, basically you hit the rank 9 and 7 for some of those, right? And you'll get a quest that when you accept it, you basically just immediately turn it in, and they give you the reward for these items from the renown for the respective factions. And now, even if you've done those quests, they've been reset. So you go back to the renowned quartermasters, talk to them, finish the quest. You will get a veteran piece of that same gear that you got last season. It'll now be veteran season 2 at 279. It'll be very helpful for a lot of players, especially if you've already done the renown grind, which I'm going to be honest, there's like 2 of these that I haven't done because I got past that in season 1 and didn't think it mattered, just like in the War Within for the whole rest of the expansion. But as we can see here, it seems that every season they will be resetting these. So if you haven't done your renown and you're going to miss out on this, don't worry, just do them now during season 2, and in season 3 they'll do this reset again.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they're, boosting the renowned quartermasters. The quicker and more accessible it is, the better for all of us, just having that little bit of boost, especially for the alts.
Yeah, this is going to be really good for alts. I mean, any of my alts, I've always first thing, near the end of the War Within, the first thing I do when I maxed them out was go straight to the quartermaster and get all the rewards, and it was great. I got a lot of stuff from them, and it's a good start. Also, another good start for your characters this week. You can get 1 piece of hero track gear, item level 305 from Delves in the vaults of Atal Utek, which is the underground area on the new Coiled Isle. There's a quest, a Toxic Tour. This rewards a Trove Hunter's bounty. Now, make sure to not use the item yet. Go to your delves. I believe the season reset and such, and so you gotta grind your levels back up. And once you get to where you're able to start a tier 8, so finish a tier 7, and now you've got access to tier 8 delves. And I believe you can't get past tier 8, right, until season 2 starts.
I believe so, yes.
So we're maxed out at 8. Just do the first 7 levels, do them really quick. I heard that the new delve on the island, the Coiled Isle, I believe it's some fighting pit, right? Pit of Blood or something like that. That is a really, really fast one, and somebody got they leveled up their whole delve in like under an hour.
Oh, wow.
Or just about an hour, but still 1 hour for leveling it up. That sounds amazing. Make sure that you go there before they hotfix that, if that's the case. But it just sounds like it's set up as a delve to be really short. So that's actually kind of nice, especially if you're just looking to do one or something. So definitely go in there, grind that out, get your levels up. Once you finish a 7, it means you can start an 8, activate your Trove Hunter's Bounty, go to a delve, start the level 8 delve, and you will be rewarded with a 305 item at the end of that from the bountiful delve. Or I don't know if it's not like a bountiful chest at the end. It's like a Trove Hunter's chest or something, right?
Right. And one thing to note too is that the Beacon of Hope, that it was an item that you would get in the delve that would call the question mark delve boss, the ultimate boss. And what that would do is, after you called him, depending on, it didn't matter if you defeated the extra tough enemies or not, you would get an extra piece of loot. Um, that the old one for season 1 is disabled, and it's turned into trash. So presumably there's going to be a new one. I haven't seen what that is yet, but just a note, you can't use the old one for season 2 yet, or not at all, excuse me. So yeah, you're going to have to get a new one in order to do that.
And we're on the topic of delves, so we should definitely mention this. Uh, there's a I need to look this up. I think it's his name is Aztarek or Azdarek, and this is the Nemesis boss for season 2 for the delves. If you complete, there's some actually really cool stuff that's going on with it. You don't have to get within like the first 1,000 people to do it, which is really upsetting for a lot of people. Um, Last season for the delve boss, the Nemesis boss for that one, I think it was Nautilus.
Hmm.
And it cut off. It cut off at a number, and that was really unfortunate. A lot of people were upset about that because it didn't give them a chance to really participate. That it closed off really quickly, and people have jobs, so they're not always home, and they don't take the first week of a patch off. They'll take the first week of a season off, maybe, or an expansion off, maybe, but not everybody. And so because it seemed a little unfair, they made that change for now. It's the first week. So the first week of the season, if you get it done, which is starting when this podcast comes out, you will have 1 week to get in there and beat the boss, and you will then have access to, I think it's a title.
Yeah, I think last season it was a title as well. The mount you will always get, you know, whether you do it in the first week or previously the first 1,000 players.
Yeah, this one is called Fabled Vanquisher of Aztarak. So I believe the title is going to be basically that. Um, and let me see. I'm trying to look up the name, but when you beat this boss, you're going to get rewarded with an achievement, some other stuff, whatever. But one of the things that stands out to me is there's a decor item, not a decor item, sorry, a transmog item for a back piece that looks awesome. I think there's another model with these wings, but I don't know where that's coming from yet. These ones, however, they look awesome. So the only example that I have are the dragon wings that are in the shop and the demon wings that are in the shop. If you go to the shop, there's some transmog items in a category for transmog. You can buy a set of 4 different colorations of wings, or maybe it's like 5 different colorations of wings, dragon wings. They all look really cool. And when you walk around, they kind of animate and bounce around. They look really good. They're not like warlock wings when they had those, and they kind of just sit there. And then they have these 2 demon wings that come with this cool transmog demon set with this like demon looking armor, or like succubus looking armor. It looks pretty cool. And the shape and animation and sort of like 3D model for these are very similar between the two, but you can see that the art is fairly different. But both of these wings are like webbed wings, like a bat's wings, right? This is completely feathered, but you can still see that it's got like the spines and the 3D like skeleton of those other two. So it looks very similar. If you like those, that's kind of what this looks like. But it's feathered, and the feathers are like mostly dark, and they've just got like a highlight at the tip, and it just looks amazing. It's an incredible looking piece of transmog, and is basically free, right? You just have to earn it in game, and unlike the other very, very high quality 3D model wings that are available in game, you don't have to pay for these. So that's definitely something that stands out, and it's not something you have to do. You don't have to do the solo him achievement. So I believe you can get friends to come and help you, and you don't have to do it in the first week. It's not that. That's just the title.
Yeah, and let's not forget that we also have a new Tuskar back that was data mined. Specifically, it is a shark actually wrapped in sort of a Tuskar. I don't know. It's either a net or sort of. Uh, uh, oh, I see. It's more like he was pierced and it's sort of like in a trap or something.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Um, so yeah, I really like the shark. I think that's both cute and hilarious.
So I looked it up, and the name of those wings is Apophic Patagia. I don't know. I'm gonna spell it right now. Apophic for Apophic, and Patagia. I don't know how to pronounce that word.
The Patagia, interesting. It's
Thank you.
apparently a membranous body part that assists a vertebrate animal in obtaining lift when gliding or flying. So essentially, and it shows specifically um, a flying squirrel, the patagium slash
Love
patagia.
that.
Yeah, we all know those mounts are still really cool. Um,
Oh yes.
the patagia is right where like the webbing of the wing or the skin of the wings are.
Nice. Okay. Well, you learn something new every day, and now all of you just learned something. So, Apophic Patagia, and it looks awesome. Look it up on Wildhead. You can check out the 3D model. You're going to see how it animates and everything. So, that's going to be so cool. And you also get an Apophic Soul Crusher mount, which just looks like those like the Delve robot mounts that we've been getting, which I like the robot mech suit. I think it looks really cool, and I'm glad that these are like drastically different. I would have been upset if they were all recolors. It would have gotten boring by now, but they're genuinely different models.
Yeah, and it would be nice though, I will say, to update the animations to them because they are still using the same animations from the Legion uh, uh, Lightforged Draenei mount.
Okay, I was very confused by the name of this article, and um, and I was just wondering where this reference for taking away um, a void core or one of these things uh, came from. But if you had collected spore bits from last season, there was a little bit of a thing where like you could combine them still and get a void core for this season, or maybe I don't know, something like that was happening. Those have been removed and they patched that out. So that's what that was for. A hotfix change who's eligible for a couple of venomous abyss drops, and both of them come off the second to last boss at Myth 344 on Mythic. Zul'jin's guillotine technique. The trinket was DPS only and has now been added to the loot table for all 6 tank specs. It looks strong for protection warriors and protection paladins specifically, less so for the others. And Maze Roa, Warlord's Fury, the two-handed axe has been added for survival hunters. If you've been building a bonus roll priority list or your guild has been sorting out loot rules around one, those odds have moved and it's worth another look before the 25th. So definitely take a look at these things. Some stuff has got shuffled around. And then, of course, the Spore Bit thing was hot fixed out. And that was on Friday.
Yeah, and as a proud pally, this makes me extremely happy. This was and is best in slot for us. So, and I didn't even realize it wasn't even on the bonus roll. So that was honestly kind of confusing me hearing that. I was like, well, why didn't they have that in the first place? Um, but and the second thing I will say is Survival Hunter is the best spec.
Yeah, personally, I'm very particular to beast mastery, but I I really like Skull and Hathi, and it's very important for me to have both of them out. And Beastmaster is the only one that will let me have either one, but it's also the only one that will let me have them both out at the same time.
Ah, gotcha.
All right, and on to our next news item: season two tier list and the hot fixes underneath them. So we had an article that posted the tier list, and I think it's really interesting, kind of where things are getting ranked. Did you have a chance to look at this and see where prop paladins fall?
Yeah, I did. What they originally had, and this is probably going to change because Blood DKs actually got a pretty heavy nerf. Um, Blood DKs are at the top, not just for their, or were, again, it's probably going to be adjusted because of the nerf, but they were S tier, and the reason being just the amount of damage as well as the utility, because DK pools are still very much a thing and very much needed for especially raiding Mythic Plus as well.
Mhm.
And Brewmaster is sort of in that similar uh, uh, tier. It's actually A rank. Again, the reason being that they provide the extra physical damage buff, or I'm sorry, debuff for the ad, so that they take 5% more damage. Everybody else is in B tier. Um, Specifically for prop pally, this has always been sort of an issue. Is that while we have a lot of utility, and I would argue that especially with something like bubble taunt, that extra 8 seconds can really um, help out. Um, the reason they ranked us lower is that we don't provide a special buff or the utility um, slash damage of a Blood Decay or Brewmaster Monk. Similarly, the Guardian Druid and Prot Warrior in the same beaker as well.
Yeah, I was looking at the classes that I'm going to play this season, and I'm glad that none of them are below rank B, but Resto Druid is rank B, and so is Bear Druid. So Guardian Druid was, I think, like S tier last season.
Yeah, they were, especially during the Race to World First, their damage output was what saved them. And I will admit that going in as a prop paladin, maybe we'd have the damage, but for that raid in particular and just how hard L'ura was, we might not have been able to do it. But I'm also not Team Liquid or Echo that I can make those uh, uh, real observations. But I will say, Resto Druid just was either yesterday or the day before. They are getting a all healing buff. So again, um, these things are very fluid, and they even said that within the next week or two, um, I don't know if they're going to do major changes the first week, Race to World first, but they did say that they are planning specifically to address a bunch of concerns during the 2 or 3 weeks ahead of us. Um, and so hopefully Resto Druid will get a major increase. That would be nice for you. And especially because um, Resto Druid and their constant hots, I always feel are very beneficial. They also provide Mark of the Wild. Um, but yeah, like you said, it's good that nothing for the healers, and by extension, I would say the tanks. The balance is good, and hopefully, um, we'll see these changes such that everyone is viable and can be used for both raid and M plus.
Yeah, I also see on the DPS chart that, well, there's not like it's not like a ton of classes in rank C. It is six of them out of all the DPS classes and or specializations, and I think it's a bummer seeing Feral Druid down there because they were kind of there near the end of the season. I think they were okay in the
Yeah.
beginning of the season, but or there's something about them, but the whole season they had issues, and they're still down there. They haven't fixed anything, and that comes with on the heels of a really big buff that they had gotten recently. Because there's just been a lot of class changes that have been coming out and that are getting hot fixed in. Um, we I don't think that we're seeing enough here. And I don't know where the hesitation comes from trying to buff Feral Drew. And maybe the bleeds get out of hand really quickly and they're hard to tune around. But also seeing Outlaw Rogue down there is a little bummer, a little bit of a bummer.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think Outlaw Rogue and Feral Druid really, they, not just in terms of the way they function, because both of them use energy, but I think both of them, not just last year, but they always seem like they just can't get a hold of them. And I do not know why.
I'm gonna play Outlaw Rogue this next season. And basically, so what I've got lined up for myself is three different druids in Resto, Guardian, and Balance spec. And then instead of playing Feral, I'm just gonna play my Outlaw Rogue. And so I don't really like Feral. And Rogue has been my main for like the longest time. So I'm just gonna stick with that. But what has what has sort of stood out to me in my rotation for Outlaw Rogue when I was playing with it in season one was just the absolute randomness of the roll the bones spec or talent, and you're
Right.
able to get one of four options, and like three and four are really helpful. And I noticed, and then you have this buff that will just tack on another 30 seconds to your dice roll buff, whatever you get. And but that's like a 6 minute cooldown. Mind you, when you go through your rotation and stuff, you're like lowering the cooldowns on everything, so it ends up being like, a couple minutes, but it's still a pretty long cooldown. It's not something you use on anything, and so because of that, you use it sparingly. You need to use it only on like level 3 and level 4. But if you're rolling the dice, you mostly get 1 and 2. Like you hardly ever get 3 and you rarely get 4. And I know it's just, I don't know where the randomness is coming from or how it lands, but I know this because I was sitting at a training dummy for like 6 hours
Oh my
playing
gosh.
with it. So I wasn't only doing that. I was working on my add-on. I have an add-on that mostly I just do for me. I haven't actually put it on CurseForge yet, but it's Thug UI, and I play default for my game, but I have just a few little tweaks here and there that I want to enhance my default experience. And I don't need rate frames or new platers like for nameplates, and I don't need any of that stuff. But it's just small little changes that I've made. The one thing that I cannot live without that I had when we had weak auras was a cursor cooldown bar. And the reason why the weak auras ones are great, and I can't just because the first time I tried this, I just attached the cooldown bar we have for the default UI to my cursor and just anchored it. I don't like that they don't disappear. Like they just like you can still see the cooldown and the item timing down and all that. It's just they don't go away. And the weak aura was set up so that when you use the spell, it's off your screen. And when it's following my cursor, whether I'm DPS, tank, or healing, I really like it when the icons are gone because I use it only for the spells that I have to use on cooldown. And if you play a lot of these different classes, like I do, play a lot of different specs, a lot of different classes, basically all of them, and I play with all. I'm not good at all of them, but I focus on a couple. I get good with those, but for the most part, I can see patterns with all of them, and they all have like a lot of like actions per minute, really high APM, and basically you have a set of cooldowns that are just non-negotiable. You hit those as hard and fast as you can, and you never want them sitting there unused. Then you have nuanced rules like don't cap rage, don't cap energy, right? Don't cap this resource. There are other things you think about that come into the different layers of the meta and that may add to complexity to any one of these classes. The buff chasing is kind of a thing that some classes will do, and that will determine what you press next. But what helps me is to have all the ones that are just non-negotiable on my cursor because that's where I'm looking. Everything else is negotiable, and I'll decide that on the fly, and I can look somewhere else on my screen or just remember how it works. Um, but the ones that I need to use, I wanted them to stay on my cursor, so I created this grid, and you can just place them in any shape that you want. And I got some collapse logic that helps it get smaller in a certain direction, however you want. You can anchor your cursor to any part of it. It's really interesting. But thanks to 12.1, we just got an update to we get to have items like a combat potion, a a health potion, and a health stone, and your trinkets. So any of these things that you have that you're in your bags, you can just drag them to your cooldown bars now and see when your cooldowns are up for, your combat potion. If you need it, you've got your potion coming back up. Timers for your trinkets, like those are now on your cooldown bars. And because they're on cooldown bars now I have access to them for my add-on. So I was working on all that and getting that all together. And also resource bars like mana, energy, you can change those now. Secret values did not allow you to touch a lot of these things, buffs, spells that had charges. Like a lot of things are like protected in a weird way and you can't move them around in your UI. But 12.1 brought in a lot of changes. So I would, if you use add-ons to like change your UI around, like Ellesmere UI, Elv UI, these things, there's probably going to be some changes coming around to how they're able to display health bars and resource bars and things like that now, because we now have access to those. And that's why I was sitting there for 6 hours just hitting this thing, because I was rebuilding a lot of the functionality of this grid section of my add-on so that I can add in the new icons that we have, and I can change the logic for how they're actually applied, because there was some weird workarounds that I had to work with and I didn't like those, and thankfully we're now able to get rid of them. And the biggest thing is being able to see my resource as a ring on my cursor. Like, 'cause that was the one thing that we couldn't do. Like, I just had to. We have a bar for the health bar that comes with the default UI, and I can resize and place that anywhere I want, but I can't change its shape. And in this new patch, and here's the thing, they didn't talk about this. Like, I had to find this out by scouring the API and their diff logs for on GitHub. So,
Hmm.
they didn't, this isn't in the patch notes talking about this. It's like a silent update, but it's such a huge update to be able to have access to your resource bar in a different shape and the way that you want for your UI. And the same thing goes for your health bar. Like, we didn't have access to those before, but we did in the end of the War Within. So I know this is like a whole side tangent, but I've been working on that a lot. And I found out all these like cool things about the UI. And so there's some really cool stuff that came with 12.1. And that's why I was stabbing a training dummy for 6 hours. But it made me realize that there's way too much RNG in Outlaw. And in the way that they are changing health pools and spiky damage and slowing healing down and everything for season 2. I didn't read much up on Outlaw Rogue, but I'm really hoping that we're getting some changes to Roll the Bones and some of our other rotations so that there's an opportunity for us to like get out of that pit. Because in playing my rotation with the grid add-on that I've created, like I've got everything I need exactly on my mouse cursor, and I'm flying through my rotation like it's so easy to get it down now. I'm still performing terribly. So it's just like I can't get out of that pit with this class, and I'm hoping this season is different. But taking a look at these things, we have a lot of classes in the upper section of these rankings. So I genuinely think that you guys are all going to enjoy the Mythic Plus season and this rating season this time around, season 2.
Yeah, and like we mentioned, hopefully they take um, a lot more in terms of changes. For example, Outlaw and Feral. It just really sucks hearing that. Just how much of a struggle it is. And also, it sucks hearing how much of a struggle it is to go through the change logs in the WoW add-on space. It
Ugh.
it just reminds me, you know, Blizzard really should have some sort of documentation. I've said it before and said it again, or just as an example. And again, I'm probably the only Linux user in the guild, and one of the few who actually plays WoW this way. But one of the things they do is that, and this was reiterated recently, is that there's a certain Git tree called Linux, their staging tree. And what was reiterated is not only is this for staging new changes, but it acts as a way to introduce developers to actually developing the Linux kernel. Um, and so, for example, there's more documentation. The idea is that it's sort of like a more of a playground, and that these changes um, are, if they are made, it's to get these new developers. They learn how it works, or even they can learn, new things as the new things are introduced in the mainline trees. But it would be nice if Blizzard sort of did the same thing, and open it up a little more, at least, for PTR and stuff. But at the very least, they are changing and they are adding to the cooldown manager because, like you said, having that utility of hiding the cooldown icons and stuff, really helps. I'm the same way. And in fact, there is a add-on, I believe it's enhanced cooldown or enhanced CD. And I actually had to go into a section of the code and delete it just because it wanted me to always have at least one icon on the screen, despite the fact that I only needed it to create colored bars for specific moves or abilities.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
um,
that sounds like a big limitation.
yeah, because again, I just need to see the bars. I don't need to be having an icon there all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I like about the flexibility that we have now. And I was a little worried in season one because of the limitations and the walls that I hit, but coming into season two in 12.1, I'm really excited for season three and going beyond that because the changes and the quality of life and just for me as a developer, granted, the communication is still absolutely horrendous and they really need to work on that. But outside of that, the actual development of what they're doing for us on that side of it, like it's really good. And I like what they're unlocking for us as they figure out, a way to do their new secrets value system and such. It's just it's there again, not a lot of documentation, so it's really difficult to reason about some of these things and work with them. For example, trying to just display a health stone on my UI, the way that you are deriving what icon it is through like layered permissions and such. And if you get any one of them wrong, it just kind of breaks down for you. And it's new. And so there's a learning curve, and they don't have any documentation on like, hey, if you were to just so happen to do something with this is the way that you would implement it because they're giving us these things, but they're not implementing them in their UI. Like these changes on the back end are just for add-on developers, and there's no other way that, for example, World of Warcraft is going to display your health. Like I'm basically the first one to do it. I'm sure other people are doing it. It's just that when I looked it up, nobody else was doing it because I started working on it day one of the patch, and anybody who had access to the PTR, that wasn't relevant to their add-on. So there was like no documentation on anybody's anything anywhere, and I couldn't find anybody talking about manipulating the radial dial, for like health bars and resource bars. So like stuff like that because the API access that the add-on that you use for the auction house and such and pulling all that information and showing it on a website, they the API access that they have, all that is documented very well on Blizzard's website. It's the in-game stuff that's not done well.
Right. And let's not even get started with the fact that they just love to, with the add-on changes, is just rename one function to another for no real reason. Uh,
Yeah,
I,
they got
I,
me a couple times with that.
yeah, I really don't understand it.
Yeah, so frustrations aside, I really like the changes that are coming in, and I'm really glad that I'm able to like figure it out and work with it, and my add-ons so much better now. I like it way more than I liked it in season one. It's so much more helpful in the way that I'm able to like do things. So that's really cool. And again, look out for your favorite add-on out there that changes your UI. You're probably gonna get some new stuff coming in pretty soon. as because mine, I still haven't worked out all the bugs. It's a mission for sure. Um,
Right,
yeah.
right.
So on to our next news item: Altar of Corrosion, hidden quests in Ulatek's gift nerf. Four of the talents on the Altar of Corrosion are locked behind hidden quests. And the Altar of Corrosion is like this talent tree that you get for when you're on the Coiled Isle or in the all the uh, Ulatek vault, the vault of Atal Utek, right? That is so. These names throw me so much. It's like Harnir and Harndar when we were first announcing them. They're so
Right.
close, like I mix them up. So yeah, the vaults of Atal Utek. There is this altar of corrosion, and you get these really cool abilities that help you get around the island and just do more damage and do a lot of stuff. I saw somewhere in the patch notes for hotfixes about this spell, Ulatek's Gift, doing way too much damage to players. And so there was something that was going on with that. So I mentioned that the nerf that this got hit with was possibly due to that, but they didn't mention that in the patch notes where they were specifically saying they were nerfing this. They just made the change, noted it, and then put it up. It was a different patch or hotfix note that was mentioning how much damage it was doing to players. And so I didn't see anybody reporting on it in that way, but just kind of reading through all the patch notes, it seems like that was the through line here. So very interesting that it's that's what was happening.
Yeah, many bugs in this. Not well. Let me rephrase that. Many very minor bugs. Realistically, like this is world content and stuff, but we are quite a bit far away from what happened with the 1205 fiasco.
Yeah, a lot of crazy stuff in that patch. That was something else. Something else that we want to talk about here in the vault, stepping on 1,000 of these little snakes. They are insidious snake. It's a small little pet looking thing because it's got a yellow name, very tiny. If you step on them, I believe they'll die, but you'll get a tick on a counter. Once you hit 1,000, you get an achievement. I don't know that it does anything special, but it might be tied to a secret. Who knows? But it's a lot of snakes to step on, and some players have realized that they can do a little AFK trick in order to complete this achievement without much work. But it still takes a few hours. So if you stand at the corner at waypoint, the coordinates here are 50.11 and 67.02, and then auto run into the wall, you will slowly accumulate insidious snake kills. And there's probably some spawn point that's pretty close and a pathing that goes right in that corner or close enough to your character as you run right there. So it's gonna take a while, and like I said, a couple hours. So you might want to like do something while keeping your character from going AFK. But that's something that WoW had posted on. This doesn't really seem like an exploit in a way that'll like get you banned or anything. So I wouldn't worry about that. But if you are unsure, definitely maybe just avoid it. But at least now you know what it is if people start referencing it. There have been some interesting things that have come out with the talent tree for this altar of corrosion, and one of the things that players notice is that some of the talents are not accessible just right away. So like you level up and you do some things, but some of them are you still just can't choose them. Players have figured out that all you really need to do is collect some items that you find the around the map, and then you take them to a location, and you're able to loot a container using that item. And inside the container, you will receive something different for each of them. And that item that you get from the container, you take to a an NPC Erinye, and honestly, they look like a very like ghosty demon hunter, but they're a troll. A very very unique look. But they're tagged with as a Venom Scholar. You talk to them, and they will trade, or they'll take the item that you receive from the container, and they'll give you an associated talent. And so going down the list, we have a spirit loop, and if you defeat an ancient foe, which spawns after completing a temple incursion, you will be able to loot this. Then the container, you find the feather of Tok'jara just below the eastern brazier at the stairs to the Venomous Abyss raid, and that's at 4850 and 2576. You'll find the feather of Tok'jara, and you'll be able to get that. And when you loot that, you can take it to Arinye, and you'll get Spectral Winds unlocked. The next one is Excising Knife. Complete a temple incursion, and then you can find the Eye of Sareth in a venom pool inside the underbelly. Underbelly entrance is 47.1 and 6.4. And the Eye of Sareth is at 68.60 and 15.66. You take that back to, or the item that you're going to get from here is the Eye of Sareth, and you take that to Renye to get Broodmaster unlocked. Then there's the Dispelling Charm. You loot that from the Spirit of Jintal during the Honored Medjai quest line. So that should be pretty easy for you guys to get. And you will find the Jintal's reliquary on a shelf inside the Profaned Mausoleum. You find this at 3626 and 2370 for Jintal's reliquary. The Lost Medjai amulet is what you loot from there, and you take that to receive the Spiritual Protection talent. And the last one is the Crota Key. You just have to complete a Temple Strike, and then you go and find the Venomworn Coffer in various locations around Venom Waterfalls, and it will give you a Mummified Lynx Paw. Taking that back to Arinye will give you the Run the Vaults talent. That one's actually pretty good. You get choose between some Glideways and Swift Steps traits on the Altar of Corrosion. I believe you either run faster, you can like fly. There's like more flight points that help you get around there, so you don't have to run everywhere. So those
Yeah.
are gonna be really useful for players. So definitely go out there and look for those.
And it's nice to have more of a interacting world activity. The reason being that you know, once you hit the max level and you do some world quests, it sort of kind of ends. Yeah, you know, just having another adventure where you know, you don't necessarily have to be doing delves or getting more gear is nice, and having these little mini secrets and stuff is pretty cool.
I'm pretty sure somebody's gonna whip up a little add-on that will guide you through all of these.
Oh, definitely. I can
They
hear
used to
them
be able to
typing
do it with a
now.
weak aura. All right, yeah. And on to our next news item, the Coiled Isle Cosmetics, Taka's crew, and 2 transformations we've got here. Captain Taka's new friendship reputation hides a real mount grind behind a fishing pole. And there are 2 transformation toys out there worth going out of your way for. The Taka's Crew storyline opens up after you finish the original Sin campaign and running dailies. The open sea fishing world event and killing Master Grenadier Birdie when he spawns fills out the reputation. Max it, and you can buy the Coiled Huntress fishing pole from the second mate slugs. That rod is the actual key to the mount. Equipped on the Coiled Isle, it gives you Coiled Blessing, which turns you into a water moccasin with underwater breathing and 150 swim speed. And it builds venom stacks as you fish. Sea Sage Polo on Taka's Folly cleanses those for 1 coiled filament per stack. You need 2,500 coiled filaments for the sea dwelling Isle Serpent, so this is going to take a while.
Yeah, I believe this is the one they said on WoW. There might have been another one. I think I'm thinking there's another achievement that requires like what is it? The 300 Curse Surge achievement. Um, um, I don't think it's as long. This it will take a while, but this was a news post 4 hours ago. Um, the 300 Curse Surge achievement apparently is going to require at least 225 hours to unlock.
Oof. Yeah, that's that's going to take you a while. If you do them every day though for a couple hours, and don't miss any. You'll get it done by the end of the season.
Yeah, just over 9 days to be more specific. But yeah, this is again another thing where it's more about more world stuff to unlock it. And I do like the title it gives you, the Curse Breaker.
Yeah, that one is really cool. I love that one. We also get two toys coming in this patch. Well, one of them is a return. So we have the Blinding Veil that's coming back into the seasonal rotation. And just like those mounts, hopefully you guys got your Chocobo mounts from, what was it? Um, were they both from Windrunner Spire?
One was from Windrunner, and I forget where the other one was. Let's see.
Yeah. So those two were sort of like or well, at least the Ghost mount was a seasonal specific mount.
hmm I know the Lucent Hawkstrider was from looks like Magister's Terrace.
Okay, I think you could probably still get that one. It was only the other Hawkstrider that from Windrunner Spire that they were saying is not going to be available until the last Titan when it's back into a rotation, or available in that way. So we have the Blinding Veil, and there's a toy that drops from the last boss, Z Kit on Mythic, and it persists through death, mounting, shapeshift, and combat, and it has a 10-minute cooldown and a 1 hour buff. So you can basically stay a Saptor permanently. And if you don't remember what these are, it's basically a raptor, like a velociraptor, but it's made out of like plants, like the like things in Harandar are. So all the animals in Harandar look like they're some sort of vegetation animal hybrid thing, and this looks just like that. They look awesome. And if you want to play as a Saptor, this is your opportunity to get that. But we also find that if you find every lore object on the Coiled Isle for the student of history, I said it like that because it's spelled with three S's, and that is hilarious. If you get that achievement, this toy comes with it. It turns you into a child of Ulatek in one of four colors. It lasts for an hour and it's on a 10-minute cooldown. It does not break in combat, so you can run in dungeons and raids as a snake. Again, really cool. I really like these toys. You can use them in raids, and they just add a lot of fun to a situation. It's just really, really fun to just be able to transform into a completely different species that you're not allowed to play as yet. And I gotta say, when it comes to Moonguard events, those role players really go above and beyond. I've seen some incredible things that I didn't even know you can turn into in this game.
Yeah, and as someone who likes to occasionally turn himself into a corgi, it's nice that these don't break in combat. The only way to subvert or get away from that is using the what is it? The focusing prismatic focus. Excuse me, prismatic focusing lens, um, and to swap your appearance with another one, and then re-swap back. And essentially, you get the corgi appearance and able to get that through combat, but only for 5 minutes. Um, it's good to see that
Hmm.
they're allowing that, because there's a lot of toys that it's the old no fun allowed, um,
Yeah.
and unable to use them in raid. Um, but yeah, the Saptor is definitely one of the favorites of mine, and I do hope to get that during this season.
Yeah, and taking it through the Mythic Plus, I did that one earlier today on my Guardian Druid, and that was a lot of fun. I like the way that they've tuned it, and the way the boss battles are. There's nothing that's like surprising and just very confusing. Sometimes there's mechanics in a boss battle that are not intuitive, and you just have to die to figure it out. And in this one, in the Blinding Veil, it was pretty straightforward. Everything's pretty easy.
Yeah, and I'm just glad that they, fixed Blinding Veil because before season one, when we had all eight of the midnight dungeons, that was just one hell of a killer.
Yes, it was. On to our next news item, I want to talk about some mounts and pets that we have. a new pet that was found by the secret finding Discord. One of the things actually very interesting about this was found by a player, and I'm trying to see. I know that they had given credit to this player on the Wowhead article, and I'm trying to read that right now to see
Looks
where
like it
that
was
was.
Belzar.
Okay, I didn't. Where's that on the page? Oh, credit to Belzar for it's right under the picture. Yeah, okay. So,
Yeah, unfortunately, they put it in tiny print just under the picture, and
yeah,
yeah,
very tiny. So, shout out to Belzar. Awesome for finding the Slitherfang pet and getting this done. This is pretty interesting. It looks like finding this pet requires a full group of 5 players to complete a special ritual inside the mythic difficulty version of the new patch 12.1 dungeon, Altar of Fangs. And after players clear to the first boss, they can find interactable objects around the poison waterfall near Ravi. One player must pick up a ritual reagent, while the other 4 take reversal charms. And after clearing the dungeon's second boss, players will find an ascendant serpent surrounded by 4 poisonous totems. Clear the trash, but instead of interacting with the totems, the 4 players with reversal charms need to stand on the 4 totems, while the ritual reagent player stands moves to the serpent. And then special action button should appear for all 5 players, and you'll be able to get it. So the interesting part about this story is that Wowhead here gave credit to the player Belzar for finding this secret, which is pretty awesome. However, an odd turn of events. Last season, when there was another player that had found the Gortham pet, which is a capybara, and I believe it's in Nexus Point Venus. You do a similar thing where you clear up to a certain point, I think just before the first boss, and there's this thing that you can interact with, and it takes all 5 players to do something, and then you unlock it, and you're able to loot the pet, and you have the capybara pet, Gortham. The player that had discovered this did not get credit in the Wowhead article, but there's a couple other places online that sort of do these things and announce them, and they got some credit there. Interesting enough, I only found this out because I'm in a guild, um, Shadows of Elune, and there's a pretty big streamer, Emilzia, and she does a whole bunch of streaming and a bunch of WoW content, and primarily WoW content. And she's got this guild, Shadows of Elune, and we got a lot of players in there. I think there's even the voice actor who voices was it Varian Wren's son? I always forget his name.
Anduin.
Anduin. The voice actor for Anduin is in that guild, so it's pretty cool.
Oh wow,
Sometimes he shows up.
that's
But
awesome.
yeah, there's a pretty big guild. There's a lot of people, quite a lot of streamers in there too. Really small streamers. They all kind of congregate there. It's really interesting. A lot of cool people on there. But somebody had mentioned and posted that their guildmate, who is apparently Belzar, found this Slitherfang pet, and then they posted it to the Secrets Discord, and so that was cool. And they had mentioned that they had found the Gortham pet, but they didn't get credit. So I wanted to take this opportunity to get it out there and remind players that last season the Gortham pet was found by player Mimi, and definitely deserves credit for that. Not really sure where where the change in policy there came from season 1 to season 2 on Wowhead's part. I know that she had mentioned she'd actually reached out to them, and they had told her that they didn't want to basically dox the people who find secrets, and so it's just weird that they
Huh.
did it this time and not last time. I don't know what that's about, but I wanted to give credit where credit was due. And an interesting part of this, Belzar is her guildmate. So they're both in the same guild, but they're not a secrets finding guild. It's like a small guild of just like a private guild of some friends.
Oh, that might explain it then. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's really cool that an unknown guild of just some random players found 2 secret pets in one expansion, right? Like they beat out the entire Secrets Discord twice. So pretty cool that the small little guild found these pets, but definitely also cool that they're continuing to work together to get these things done and to find these pets for us and post them to the Secrets Discord. But yeah, definitely I want to give a little bit of credit there. Mentioned from last season, but definitely go and check these pets out. They are for sure going to be tied to some secret events later on. So now is the time to get them. And as we can see, Gortham and this new snake pet require 5 players to interact. So right now is the easiest time you're going to find to get players together to group for these things.
Yeah, and definitely shout outs to them. Without them, we wouldn't have any of this knowledge.
Yeah, yeah. That's funny. Funny play on words there with was it the Keepers of Knowledge? What are they? The right? The guild that's in game that takes care of all these secrets and stuff.
Oh yeah, I forget myself.
And so another mount that I hope we get it. I hope it's not locked behind something, or God forbid, a Chinese exclusive mount again. But
I
this
know
one looks inspired by Dragonflight.
as soon as I saw that, that's what I was praying to.
Okay, so it looks like well, it looks like the notes here say the source is in-game shop. And so maybe it's something that we'll get to buy, which at the very least, even if I don't want to buy it and I make that choice myself, I have the option. And that's what I like. Because sometimes these mounts go on sale, like real good sale, and I'll buy them then. But I don't like buying things full price so much from the shop. There's just not very many things that I will pay $25 for an in-game item for. But those squirrel mounts, I got 4 of them, dude. They were like 750 each.
Yeah, my favorite is the pink one. I really love just the coloration that they went with. It's like very vibrant pink and white.
Oh wait, no, they made me pay $50 for all 4, but
Oh
$25
jeez.
each. So, but it was yeah. So like it would have been $100 if you bought them all individually. But if you bought one, buying a second one basically like it worked out. You just buy the $50 one. But yeah, $50 still ended up being only like 12.50 for each mount, and I think that's a good deal.
Yeah, the one thing that, of course, everybody's wondering is if this is the next auction house Brutosaur. My guess is
It's
no.
set up kind of. I
It,
mean,
it
it's a cool little dragon house, right? Like on the back there. Like I could see this having a couple cool vendors on there.
yeah. So it does have the left and right side with presumably with either a vendor or an auction house person that can sit there. Um, but it would be interesting if they do go that route and the Brutosaur, maybe not permanently retired, but is replaced by the Yak. Um, it, it's a very good model, though. Mad respect for the artist who made that.
You know, I like that idea to not have to come up with a brand new way to deliver something impactful to players like an auction house mount with a mailbox on it, but do the same function in a different mount. So there's a sort of exclusivity with the Brutosaurs that we have right now. Well, that you have. You have 2 of them. I only have. Wait, do you have the new one?
I have both, yes.
Yeah, yeah, you got both of them. I only have the new one. Um, but yeah, like this sort of makes those kind of exclusive, and it doesn't take away the functionality, which I think is what players really want. Granted, the Brutosaur mount is awesome no matter which one you get, because a Brutosaur it looks amazing to have a bunch of them just show up in raid. But I think keeping that exclusive in that sense, and but not keeping the functionality exclusive, by perhaps if this Yak mount ends up being an auction house kind of mailbox mount, I think that would be a really good idea to go with.
Yeah, and uh, I don't know. It just it definitely makes sense, and I can see them doing it like I mentioned. Um, but it would be it's interesting how they're trying to find ways to monetize the game and everything. And realistically, because I don't know if we've ever really discussed this, but as much as we may hate the monetization, the realistically this is sort of what a lot of these games need nowadays, just because of how large the teams are and how much infrastructure is involved. And again, you don't have to buy them, but it's nice that they give you the option. For example, like you mentioned, the squirrels, you can buy only one of them if that's all you're interested in and save money, or buy all four and save money that way. So, um, um, you
You can
know,
also convert gold to Blizzard balance. So if that's what you're
mhm.
doing and you just collect gold and you're sitting on a bunch, at some point, if something really cool comes out, you can convert over to Blizzard balance and either, lessen the cost of that for yourself or just completely buy it outright.
Right, and that's actually what I did for both the original mount, although that was 9,999,000, etc. Um,
Woo!
but also for the newer one, I did build up, the gold again, to get that when it was available. And it's also, since I'm getting back into to the auctions, how I'm paying for game time again. So again, like you said, there is always that option.
Yeah, that's a really good system. And this is, I like this because this is every now and then we get like a jumbo transaction as opposed to constantly all the time, every day dealing with microtransactions. I don't
Hmm.
like playing games with microtransactions. They're not the kind of value that I want out of a game. And because they're micro, they have to just be these tiny little insignificant things that are always it's always a trick to convince someone to spend $2 on this tiny worthless thing. But I feel like we get genuine value out of a $90 mount.
Exactly, exactly. And we don't have everything in the game monetized, i.e., you know, if we want to get a good armor piece, you know, we get both the stats as well as the sort of prestige for doing everything, whether it's normal, heroic, or mythic, instead of everything that's cool is $5 a piece.
Okay. Also, we have some news that Mythic L'ura mounts are being removed. Players are reporting the mount pulled from their account with a mail saying rewards were connected to activity that violates in-game policy. Nobody knows the exact trigger. The suspicion is boosting communities or RMT. And notably, some of the affected players say they paid in gold, not real money. So the way that they're running these leads down is probably sourcing them from the actual boosting communities that are not allowed. For context, Blizzard banned boosting communities back in January 2022. Individuals and guilds trading gold for runs were always fine. Organizations advertising across realms weren't. This looks like it could be going after buyers instead of sellers. And this would be probably just a misunderstanding for players, not really knowing that the advertisement that they're responding to as they see it is someone in a community advertising cross realm as opposed to a guild on your server or an individual on your server advertising for these services that you can pay them individually. That's, it's unfortunate how that works. And I think that having this very specific rule, but not having a UI to handle that, like a UI element, something to handle that for the player is a disservice. I think that having gold be okay to guilds and individuals that are basically on your server, probably within your server group. Um, I think that they should have it explicitly stated that here's this UI or maybe this NPC. You go to them and it starts this transactional system. You put your gold in, right? They click the correct options in the menu that choose which raid and which service and which mount and like whatever it is that is being sold is some WoW item or WoW achievement or something, right? Perhaps they're always tied to an achievement, which I think most of the time they are. So you can just choose the achievement, put the price on it, somebody pays it, the UI tracks it, you are good. You've taken this from you're not even eligible to interact with this NPC with another person who's not on your realm. right? So like you have to use this system and you are now eligible. You're not going to be, there's no question about it. You're not going to get your mount taken away later if you did pay gold, because it's a little unfair for someone to pay gold in the correct way, but to the wrong person. But then also, some of these people may have went to the forums, went to other websites to find these people. And while they did pay gold, you're interacting with a community that does this as opposed to a guild or an individual. That is not a rule that I think all players are just like always aware of unless they're being told this near constantly. I think that's a very nuanced part of that situation that doesn't seem very obvious and I think is very unfair to take away from players.
Yeah, that's a really good point on the creation of the UI, because whenever they made this rule change, they sorta, kinda, but really not really implement sort of this. Um, in the Dungeon Finder pre-made groups, you can sort of put, that it's for selling it, or, specifically like carry offered and stuff, but
Mhm.
it doesn't there's no real way to really do that transaction. I think the idea that you have really makes a lot of sense. I mean, what they could even do is say, like, we will put the system is such that every 4 or maybe 8 weeks after a patch, they sort of turn on the switch that allows a guild to do this. That way, the realm first, or the first X amount of guilds that get a boss down and go into the Hall of Fame would get it. And then maybe that could help ease their apprehension for actually implementing it. Um, but yeah, the lack of transparency about it, and just sort of having it in the terms of service or as a rule that everybody's supposed to remember, it really doesn't help things.
Exactly. And the way that it's designed right now is what is causing the confusion. In 2022, we have a rule that says we're not allowed to do this cross server, no websites, no forums, no communities, or we can't do those things. Understandable, I get that. But we're still allowing people to use the Dungeon Finder to advertise these things. And while that does work in the way that I explained, right? It's an individual or a guild that's somewhere on your server within your server group. And so you're going to be able to have access to them in this way, and you can check the box and filter it for just looking for carries and carry offered, and that's all really nice because it lets you choose the kind of gameplay that you want: casual, competitive, carry offered. These are really good options to have in there. The problem with this is that you are now conflating carry offered with all these other very normal, very regular things, and there's nothing that explicitly states that, hey, this has to be in this way or you can't get it from the community or anything like that. It having the option carry offered in our dungeon finder is the confusing part. It has a very nuanced rule, and you can something like this can happen to you. I think is very unfair. It should be a separate experience. It shouldn't be tucked away anywhere. It should be very much in next to all the other NPCs who are very important, but you should have to talk to them, and the UI should explain these things, right? These rules that are very, very specific should be explained within this UI, and this is the only place that you are able to do this. Yes, it's a raid. Yes, it's a dungeon. Yes, it's a grouping to get a pet or a mount or something, whatever it is. Yes, the dungeon finder sort of makes sense with that, but that's if you're in a hurry. Now that it's here and you've got time to think about it, maybe give it a little bit more thought and think about how it's confusing players, and it should just be its own experience. And that whole I don't mind that carries are offered, but I genuinely super annoyed at like 12 at night when I'm looking for raids and I have to scroll through a bunch of carry offered because they advertise 24/7 just to find the couple raids that are actually going on.
Another thing they could also implement is, if you don't kill the boss and get the achievement, or even just from someone stealing the gold, implemented in such a way that they have to defeat the boss in order to get paid, and have that be sort of like you as a character who is asking for the service, you're paying the gold, have it be like a sort of like a deposit. And if you don't
Make it
kill
a
a
crafting
boss,
order,
right, exactly.
right? Same
um
system.
yeah, and then you get the achievement, the guild gets the gold, and everybody wins. And you know maybe this is something that Blizzard, realistically doesn't want to happen, but still kind of is like, I guess we'll have it. And that's the reason they don't have it in game at this point. I mean, 20 plus years. Um, but really, it would help a lot of things. And it would also um, help with, like, for example, if you go into the group finder, all the advertisements and just all the garbage in there.
So one thing that I will say that I'm probably not thinking about, but I'm trying to think about, like, in my head as you're talking about this, I'm trying to like go over like all the reasons why like Blizzard wouldn't do something like this. And it sort of matches a pattern of not implementing systems into the game that automate gold transfer. And while this does seem like a very locked down UI, you do this thing, in the case that somebody gets their account stolen, this would be a one shop like stop to drop all the gold somebody has into some achievement run that looks like they're legitimately paying for, and then now that person on the other side of it is just taking the entirety of their worth in one fell swoop, and on the face of it almost looks legitimate, especially if the player doesn't report it or they just take the L. I don't know that anybody would do that for a large amount of gold, but maybe for not a lot of gold, or for somebody who's in another country who doesn't have the same opportunities that we have here in America, or some of the EU countries and such, right? Like they may not have the same representation or ability to like file a suit or something, or like have an investigation. At least we can send cyber crimes and like to the FBI here and they'll look into it.
Right. And it is a challenge in that respect, but still, I think the benefits outweigh the negatives. And as sort of a corollary to this, make sure you have two-factor authentication. Um,
Yep.
this is 2026, and please, use a reliable password manager like Bitwarden to put a randomized password on your Blizzard account. You know,
And give you notifications when they're compromised, right?
exactly.
Yeah,
Um,
that's wonderful.
and yeah, it would be just lovely if I mean, and we're just two guys talking on the podcast, spitballing here. Blizzard could obviously implement something like this and really give it the love that it needs.
Absolutely. And maybe they just haven't gotten around to it. They got a long list of upgrades that they've been giving us for a while now, and it just keeps on coming. So hopefully we see something where this boosting thing gets resolved. Because genuinely, I don't like seeing it in my list of raids. I'm never gonna buy a boost, like ever. I don't. I just would never spend my money on that. But I spend a lot of money on WoW. I just don't spend money on that. So for me, like, I just feel like it's a completely different part of the UI that it belongs. But it could just be me. Maybe a bunch of other players, consider it, or perhaps wouldn't even know it existed if they didn't see it in the dungeon journal. They would have been, because when I saw those, I was like, oh well, these are obviously not, against terms of service. I should report them.
Right.
Then I found out I shouldn't be, so I stopped. But yeah. All right, and on to one of our last news items here. We're wrapping it up. This one's going on a little long, but we've got so many news things to talk about this week. Player housing, four new endeavors, and a blueprints forum. Four new endeavors bring visitors into your neighborhood with their own vendors and decor, and one of them happens to solve the worst travel problem in the patch. Getting all the way to the Coiled Isle is big, and the water between it and Zolomon also big. Zolomon also big. So flying even from Silvermoon, which is at the edge of the Eversong Wood, so it's easy to fly right there into Zolomon, it still takes a little bit. It's pretty fast. I mean, I'm kind of complaining about, my microwave macaroni not cooking fast enough. So, I get the irony there, but having a portal directly to the Coiled Isle would be pretty awesome. If you pick the Amani trolls for your endeavors, it will have a portal to the Coiled Isle, which is really nice because like some places, they'll take you somewhere in a little portal there. Like I believe um the dragons was it Drakthir
Mhm.
have their own endeavor. Yeah, you get some really cool Dragonflight era stuff. I really love the decor from that one, and it also gives you a portal to the Dragon Isles. So if you want to go there for any reason, it's a really good time to go there that month, especially if you want to go farm. It's really easy to get there through your neighborhood. Um, this one is really cool because it puts the Coiled Isle like right there accessible. It's like current content. So if your guild master didn't choose this or you didn't get randomly selected for this in like your community neighborhood, because some neighborhoods you just jump into, get plopped into, they're automated, so nobody chooses which one. Hopefully they all picked the Coiled Isle one, the Amani Trolls one for this endeavor for this month. Um, or for this next one coming up, and then you'll have the access to that portal. There's also the Onaran Centaurs. Also, those guys are from Dragonflight, and they've got some cool stuff there that you can earn and some interesting new activities to get into. Having new endeavors is really fun. I think the other ones got a little old really quick, so it's cool to see them just throw four in all at once, which means this is sort of a pattern we could probably expect. And I enjoy that we're going to get more of these. And I think once we get to a certain point, they'll slow down, but we'll have so many that it's going to take a while to run through all of them. And then they can sort of maybe just update those. But then we have kobolds, and they have a lot of cool, stuff with candles if you like that aesthetic, and then tortolans. And again, the decor items from each one of these is pretty awesome. Definitely do the Amani one first though.
Yeah, and hopefully we see in the future the granting of these portals, and extra shortcuts and everything. And hopefully this sort of expands housing, not just the endeavors, but just the whole system in general as more integrated both in the game and in your play style, and as you go traveling through Azeroth and into the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And while we're on the topic of neighborhoods, of course, we've got the forum for blueprints specifically. Blizzard just announced this in a blue post and mentioned that there's now a new section of the forums dedicated to sharing blueprints and the codes that come with them. So as a reminder, players can share those. You get, I think it's like 50 of them. When you save your blueprint to your list of saved blueprints, you can share the code from there, but you must keep that blueprint in that list for that share code to be eligible. Once you get rid of that blueprint, that code is gone. So as you're going through these forums, and I'm sure there's a bunch of people already posting some amazing builds. Mind you, like they can just save their current build and immediately have a full build, right? And some people probably use both their houses and immediately have like two full builds that they can share. So there's I imagine if you go there today, even it's the first week of 12.1, you will see an absolute metric ton of these blueprints already posted. And I mean, even in just the guild neighborhood that I'm in for Shadows of Elune, we've got some amazing, just absolutely like imaginative people in that guild. They are doing some amazing things with their houses. It's it's like walking into a new world, walking through these front doors. They do such a good job, and I've seen people completely abolish an entire just extravagant build just to build something even more complicated.
Yeah, again, expanding the system, and it's insane what they've been able to create, and do these houses.
I'm excited to get in there and just check out some blueprints and see if there's any that I can actually import and just like check out just the models for these things. I don't know that I've got enough of the items, and I hope that there's some way to like substitute some items out or like just keep them off the list and just see if I can get part of the build like done so I can maybe walk through a portion of it. Because I'm not a decor collector, so there's going to be a whole, I hope not having like one or two items or something doesn't make me ineligible to import it and check it out, because some of the builds, especially if somebody's very conscious about that and they also don't have a lot of items or they use very common items for a build. I remember seeing people build staircases and pianos and all these other things, and one of the main focal points that their post would be talking about was that they used common items to build this thing so that anybody can build it.
Nice. Yeah. And the list of the items and stuff is just keeps expanding, in terms of new decor and new things you can do with them. And I really do hope, just as a side tangent, that Blizzard allows us to do our professions such as blacksmithing and jewel crafting at our own homes.
Yeah, and without using the engineer table that where you have to pull that out every time.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would be I think that would really add flavor to our houses in a way, especially with these blueprints. Like I had said, I have this sort of like TARDIS thing that I've got in my head where I'm gonna make a really tiny little hut on my plot, and then you go in and it's just like this large round room with a control panel in the middle, and and sort of role play jumping through different houses for each of my alts. But
Right.
yeah, I really am looking forward to when I get the time, because I absolutely have not. I've been working on my add-on. I've been doing Coiled Isle quests. I still want to get ready for raid. I have 3 characters that I'm going to keep in mythic level, and my rogue I'm going to keep on heroic. And so like there's like a ton of stuff that I have lined up, and I don't know that I have time for housing anytime soon. But I know that when I do make the time, it's I'm just like the world is my oyster. I get to do anything I want and then save it and then do another thing.
And it's going to be a feature going forward. So it's not like you're going to do the Warlords of Draenor garrisons and then never see it again.
Yeah. My biggest thing right now is locking in a design for my outside plot, and then probably the first thing I do is I'm going to go through all the major holidays and decorate my house on the outside for
Yes,
major holidays so I can just swap right to them, because that's the biggest thing that I wanted for Hallow's End.
right. And that's one thing hopefully we see, because I don't think we've seen any extra housing decor for that. But as we move forward, uh, my guess is going to be, we're going to see that in sort of a mini patch or something, maybe even with Trader's Tender.
Yeah, absolutely. And I honestly, I think there's an opportunity for like holiday decor vendors in the neighborhoods. So like not latch them to this whatever the current holiday is, because they've all changed. Some of them are updated, some of them haven't. So avoid that, and just when the holiday comes around, give us an NPC, have them show up in our neighborhood wherever, and then set up shop somewhere, and then we go there, for the neighborhood. And also, I don't remember if like the holiday, like Winter Veil or Hallows Eve, like the neighborhood got decorated, but I don't remember that being a thing. I would really like that to happen.
Same. And yeah, I don't think we did. But my guess is, you know, um, if they do implement something like that, it would be like the guild leader could do it,
Yeah. Oh well, if it's a holiday,
or
it's just
the
like
housing
latched to the
leader.
date. So like
Right.
it should just be automatic. Like if Winter Veil dates are up, like the vendors just wandering around, we got to find them.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yes, yes.
Yeah, that and maybe I guess maybe having the choice of whether you want your neighborhood to be decorated or not would be cool. But also, I think just like the capital cities, there should be a design for decorating the neighborhood, right? Because every time you go to
Hmm.
Orgrimmar or Stormwind during Howl's End, Winter Veil, even like Children's Week, like, you see all these things around. Your love is in the air. You see all these hearts around and such, and goblin vendors everywhere. Like that's the kind of stuff I want to see in neighborhoods, and they just haven't. Neighborhoods haven't caught up to capital cities on that aspect of our holidays, and I hope that neighborhoods get brought into the holiday level of like things going forward.
Right, right.
And on our next news item, Lady Leadrin's weekly quest went missing, and then on Friday it came back. This one matters more than a missing quest usually would because it's the gate on a 4-week chain. The Silvermoon City Warband campsite needs 4 Silvermoon Citizens emblems, and you can only earn 1 a week from Leadrin's Unity Against the Void. Miss a week, the whole unlock slides a week. It also costs people one of their options for a Spark of Tides in a week where sparks were already a sore subject. EU actually had the quest for a couple of days before it got disabled there as well. It's back on North America as of Friday night, but not quite the same. Where players were getting 4 quest options to choose from is now just the one, the Vaults of Atalu Tech. It still grants the emblem and it still counts as a spark option. So the chain is moving again, and it's a minimum of 4 weeks from here. If you guys pay attention to our artwork, the last episode's artwork was actually the picture of the warband screen. It's the front gates of Silvermoon. Looks awesome. I believe Anduin is giving another quest line that gives you access to the Darkwell version of the warband screen. But this one from Lady Leadrin will give you the version with the Sunwell in the background.
Yeah, and we actually haven't had a new warband camp since I believe the beginning of the War Within. So yeah, it's nice to have another one, and it's
Koresh.
always. Oh, was yeah, I think
I
you're
think
right.
we
Yeah,
got
yeah.
Koresh where we got to see the planet in the background or something. There's something there.
My lack of memory is making me.
My
It's
memory is all over the place.
yeah.
Sometimes I remember things and then I don't remember them, and then in the middle of the sentence it comes back, like Faerun, which even now I'm still not confident I got that right. I just like it's somehow latched to the memories when I talk about Arathi, so I'm like trying to like answer a question on a game show or something.
Oh yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's making me sound like a goober, and gonna have to turn in my WoW card.
Oh no, gotta do some studying, get it back. All right, and then we want to cover an internal email that had got passed around. Blizzard's named Xbox top performing studio. Plus, there's a sale going on that Blizzard posted about. We'll talk about that right now as well. An internal email from Blizzard's president says the studio finished fiscal year 26 as the top performer in Xbox Studios division, which lands differently a month after all the layoffs. Because I'm sure people knew that they were like top dog there, but we also have an understanding that a lot of the money that's being spent by consumers and such are on like all these games, and a majority of those games are like EA games, like sports games, Call of Duty games. Then there's just like other shooters and things like that. And World of Warcraft was not specifically on that list. It was just like generically MMOs are included in some of these stats. So to see that World of Warcraft, that Blizzard specifically, which of course isn't just a singular game, it's like several really big titles, but Blizzard, the studio, outperformed like all these other studios, and EA is its own thing. So it would have been if Call of Duty and those other games did really really well all together, which they kind of should. If they beat out Blizzard, that would have been mentioned. That would have been the thing they're talking about. And they never really ever seem to be in the conversation. Like nobody's ever talking about how great EA or Activision or King are doing. King, of course, doing stuff, but that's like mobile stuff and exploitive and whatever microtransactions. But they're just doing a ton of work, but it's different. It's a different category. When it comes to these, I was genuinely actually surprised to see Blizzard just outperforming EA, like by far, like as stated in here. It's just really interesting to see.
Yeah, tides being turned like you said, in regards to their performance. It is also interesting. Well, the one thing I will say is hopefully this means that we're not going to see any layoffs with Blizzard. Uh, Not just because, we want them to work on the game, but in all honesty, I don't want them to get fired, lose their jobs and, you know, have to go through all of that. Um, but it also comes on the heels of the fact that even the Halo studios who just brought us the Halo campaign Evolved, within what, like a week after release, they were hit by layoffs. Now it was only contract workers, but still they released it, and within a week, and the update was on, I believe it was August 7th, the original story came out. It's just crazy, man.
Yeah, we also have studios like uh ooh, what was it? Was it Bethesda or no? We had another MMO that no, maybe it was
Yeah,
Bethesda that
Bethesda
got
was.
a whole studio got laid off.
Mhm.
Or major layoffs in that studio, like the president and like the top designer and like all these really big, high paid positions were just gone.
Yeah, and like we said with them, Bethesda was actually meeting the goals that Microsoft had set for their Elder Scrolls Online. So yeah, it's just crazy times, and to see this again is it's great for them, and hopefully this means, no layoffs and such.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, we can slow down on those. But hopefully, also, Microsoft isn't just depending on Blizzard to carry the entire division through the next year because they did explicitly state that 27 was going to be better. So, regardless of where the markets go, they made that promise, and hopefully, they're not going to put pressure on our favorite studio to do that. The part we're sitting with here, though, fiscal year 25 and fiscal year 26 are the first back-to-back growth years since fiscal year 17. So, Blizzard president Joanna Faries credited Diablo 4, Lord of Hatred, and Overwatch, with Overwatch putting up its strongest quarter since 2022. Uh, Context for the timing, this comes about a month after Xbox announced the 1600 role eliminations, like we were talking about, where Blizzard saw minimal reductions. The email also talks up BlizzCon on September 12th and 13th as being like a really big thing to look forward to. So again, I'm really thinking that there's some big announcements that are happening that are, fiscally relevant, right? Like we have this Classic Plus thing internally. This is something that's like big money for them, right? It's big event and big everything or whatever, but I think the anticipation is that Classic Plus is going to bring in new players and different players back into the game, whereas retail announcements just reinvigorate players who are already playing the game, who are already locked in. They've already got our money.
Exactly, and for me, it's surprising to hear Overwatch's performance. The reason being that there was the whole Overwatch 1 versus Overwatch 2 kerfluffle, and yeah, and it's just good to see.
Yeah, it is. And perhaps in celebration of all of this, they have put out a sale. So by the time you guys are listening to this on Tuesday, the sale will have already been up for 1 week. It started on the 11th when the patch dropped, and we see 40% off midnight, which is the only one on the list that lasts till September 13th. So this almost like an anticipation for like an announcement at BlizzCon where let's say you're not playing midnight, playing it, something about playing midnight is going to be a big deal, and they anticipate that people are going to want to buy it. I don't know, that's the only thing that makes sense to me to have this sale, the only thing on here that is staying all the way to the 13th of September. The other two things that they have here are 50% off Warcraft 2 remastered, 25% off Diablo 2 Resurrected and the Diablo 4 Age of Hatred collection also, but that's only through August 24th. And the same thing for having 33% off game services like character transfers, faction changes, race changes, name changes, and the enhanced level 80 boost. Those are gone August 24th. So we have our midnight sale, which mind you is only $30 with the 40% off. It's a really good deal if you don't have it yet. Or if one of your family members or your friends don't have it, you want to get a gift for somebody, buy it for Christmas, get it in time for, whatever. I don't know, like get them back in the game or something. $30 for an expansion as opposed to 50 is a much better deal. So definitely pick this up if that's what you're thinking. If somebody that you're thinking might want to be in the game and the price of an expansion is a little bit too high, this is a good time to get in. And keep in mind that we're at the beginning of this the second third of this expansion. If you buy it now, you still have 2/3 of amazing content that's coming, and this content patch already is just, it's incredible. There's so much to do, so much to get, so many new things coming in, all kinds of new stuff and the new systems and housing. It's a very exciting time.
And actually lost my train of thought.
Whoops.
Yeah, so never mind.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've got some pretty good sales going on, so definitely jump in there and buy these things, spend that money so Blizzard can look even better in the next quarterly report. All right, so we're going to wrap it up now. Before we go, if you want to support the show, the best way is through our Patreon. Every bit helps us keep the lights on, improve the production, and keep this going every week. You can find us at patreon.com/lastattemptpod. If you can't spare the gold, that's totally fine. You can still help in a big way at no cost. You can find us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We'd love it if you dropped a rating and a review. It definitely helps legitimize the podcast. And the biggest thing you can do is to help us find new listeners. That would be great. Share it with anybody you know. Share it with your guild. If you jump into a random pug with somebody, just start dropping the link in there. Do us a favor. So, yeah, try that out.
And also on YouTube, make sure to give it a like if you listen to it on that. That does help spread it around and let YouTube know through the algorithm that people like this and people like you are interested in it.
Yeah, definitely. And if you follow us on there, like I said last week, we're doing uploads. I've got content that's uploading throughout the week as best as I can get it uploaded and done. So yeah, we've got those posts scheduled on our Instagram and our TikTok and our Twitter and our YouTube. So definitely follow us on all of those. Again, Last Attempt Pod on each of those. I will also have the link for our Discord in the description. You can join us up. I'm going to be running some raids for the community. Right, we don't have very many people in the community yet, so we will actually have none in the in-game community, and we don't have very many people in the Discord. Very small group so far. So I'm going to be doing things probably on the weekend in some capacity and take like a day to do like a heroic run. Maybe later in the season, do like mythic runs and such. Just some fun, real relax, nothing serious because they're still doing lockouts. So mythic runs are like, you mess it up, you mess it up. So definitely more of like an alt run on the later end of the season. But, prior to that will probably be heroic runs because you don't get locked out to those. And I think they make really good content for communities. You can find our community in-game community link in the description as well. There are two links. One is a web link. If you follow it on your browser, it'll take you to a page that will give the in-game link. If you don't want to do that, I just posted that exact. It's not a link, an in-game link. It's an in-game code. And if you don't want to follow that link or whatever, I posted the actual code as well. That's also in the description from last week. It'll be in this week going forward. And you can just join our community in game. It's open to anybody. So yeah, feel free to hop in there. And that's where I'll be announcing things for jumping into like fun raids and alt raids and such going throughout the season. We want to keep that kind of stuff up, especially if you're new to like heroic and mythic raids, like this would be a perfect opportunity because it's being very relaxed. There's going to be no stakes in it. Like nobody's expecting to get through anything, and I play all three roles, so I will be as helpful as I can be in getting anybody to understand the responsibilities that they have for this season's raids. Because I will be playing all three roles in this season, trying to get them all through Mythic. I think it'll be interesting to do.
Mm-hmm.
And where can these good people find you, Templar?
You can find me on my Twitch page. It's twitch.tv/Templrivanho. For reference, I do spell it a little differently. So the easiest way to find me is just type in your browser thehumandistraction.com, all one word, and it'll take you straight to my Twitch page.
And as a reminder, speaking of Twitch, definitely go and check out Templar's Twitch stream on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. This upcoming week, the raids open up, so Second Attempt will be jumping into these raids and performing. You guys can watch the show if you're not watching Race to World first. But you can probably just pop them both up on your screens. However, and the reason why I say this is because we've got a new pet, or actually no pet. It's a decor. Transmog item. Going through all the list of things they've given us. So we've got a transmog item, the grassy mage's hat and cloak. So you can earn that by watching 4 hours of a stream. If you watch 2 days of Templar's stream, you get that by Wednesday night. So definitely check it out, follow, and watch for a couple hours. You'll get that in no time. And you won't be able to find me there because I won't be streaming this week. But soon, I definitely will be trying. You can find me at twitch.tv/squirrelthug_. And it'll be a surprise when I start it. But that's where you can find me if you're looking for me. And again, links all in the description, so check those out. We appreciate y'all listening to us still. Genuinely love the support that we've gotten out there. And we love to see you guys commenting on our posts and liking our reels and TikToks and such. It's all been just wonderful to keep up with. Still very small, so there's not a lot of notifications coming through, but it is genuinely awesome to see that happening. So we appreciate all of you. We appreciate all of you who are our listeners. And even if you don't share it or financially, monetarily support us, listening, that is the biggest support. That is huge. The fact that we have a bunch of people that listen to the things that we say is super important to us, or it's a big deal. Maybe not important. Important might have been a bad word for that. I don't prioritize this over my family, I promise. Thank you all for coming again, and thank you, Templar Ivanhoe, for joining us. See y'all.
Laters.